Megan is in the hot seat today, and it's going to be a good one because Megan is in a situation like a lot of freelancers I talk to, less than the majority, but frequent scenario I come across helping out freelancers is that she managed to get her business up and running, worked very hard, accomplished some very impressive things, under less than ideal circumstances. And now she's sort of a little plateaued, maybe, like, when you get to that point where you're humming along and things are good, so you don't want to complain, but they could be better, mostly because your workflow is inconsistent, your client load is inconsistent, and you want to feel in control of your stuff, right? And get to make choices about who you work with, when you work, how much you work during the week, and not feel like you're just having to sort of grab everything as it comes along so you don't miss out. So Megan and I had a great conversation yesterday, and I gave her a task to model her best client, the kind of client she wishes her calendar was full of. And we're going to talk today about that exact topic. I'm going to give her an action plan for how to go out and duplicate her favorite clients. How's that sound? Let me just catch you up to where Megan's at, what she's dealing with. We'll get lights and camera and microphone in just a second. There you are. Hello.
Hey guys. I didn't know I was going to be on camera today.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
You had to like fix the hair and do.
I had to fix my ponytail.
Yeah. We're all cameras here on the Chief Chat. So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Where's home for you? Where do you live?
I live in Wisconsin. So like 45 minutes southwest of Green Bay.
Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. So you're a Packers fan? That's like the
No, I don't care about football.
Not at all?
But Jake does, and he likes the Packers, so that's what we watch.
There you go.
My family is from Minnesota, so it's like a Viking Minnesota.
That's a fun rivalry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake is your husband, the firefighter.
Yes.
And just some backstory. How about I tell your story?
Sure.
2015, Jake is diagnosed with a brain tumor. What could be more frightening? Very thankfully, it is removed. He is able to recover. Takes 4 months for that to happen. Yeah. He's eventually able to go back and continue his career as a firefighter, which is all really
pretty remarkable,
incredible, and great blessings. In the meantime, though, first of all, I know personally how much stress it causes the caretakers in a situation like that, because, I had open heart surgery in 2005, and I think it took my wife years to recover from that kind of trauma, not knowing if I was going to die, having kids. Am I going to raise these kids? What's going on with this guy? Is he coming back? Is he going to be any good when he gets back?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot to deal with, man. I almost think it's harder on the caretaker than it is on the because you're just following orders when you're kind of recovering,
Yeah.
Do this, don't do that. Try not to break anything, take it slow. And everybody else got to run around and make things accommodate you doing that, So I dig what you went through. Now, you're now gotten momentum in your business to the point as a freelance copywriter, and you unlike Carrie, love your retainer client, at least one of them, if not. So it's one main client. We're talking about Steve.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Steve.
Okay. So I've been on his retainer since May, and he hired me to help him launch 5 brands that were nowhere near close to being launching at the time. Mm-hmm. And so we had to build them from the ground up, including, so I did the brand stacks, and in that is included like who they are, their mission, keywords, target audience. And then, he did all the design work and I did all of the content brand identity work. And so we did that with the 5 brands. And then he brought in an outside agency to do all of the tech work behind the scenes to connect the Facebook pages to the up and coming pages that'll be attached to the business. Because what he did was he had a lot of social engagement with like just fan pages, and he was turning those fan pages into businesses. So he wanted to leverage them. He has like 63,000 followers for one of his fan pages for running. And so
Oh, so this is all athletics, fitness kind of stuff.
it's college party brand for
Okay.
Wisconsin, and then a national college party brand where we, talk about events and then design apparel for the event, like Oktoberfest. And then we have Finest in Fitness because he's really into fitness. And then we have Run Your State, and then his personal brand because he's been doing this for a long time. So he wants to have a personal brand too. So he brought me on in May. And the reason why I like him so much is because there's so much work to do that it just feels like you can see the progression of the businesses as we trickle down. And now it was a lot of it was like the planning and ideas. And now we're getting to like the nitty gritty, like this is what we actually have to put out into the world. This is what we're producing, and seeing it work is fun for me.
Yeah. So you love the work. You like to get very involved in these projects. Are you managing the projects in large part, or?
Yeah. Yep. So he's been occupied with his other 2 businesses that he has with a business partner. And so in September, October, he asked me to step in and start managing and work right alongside him with the agency company. And starting like October, I started to do that. So I was in contact with Giant and, talking about like different strategies and things like that. So I feel like his idea is to like bring me on as this person in his business for handle all communications and content. And in the SOW that I shared with you is he also wants me to get involved with the affiliate programs. So helping people who want to also represent the brands and getting them onboarded and manage that aspect of it.
Okay. So he says bring you on. So it sounds like more than anything, this role is going to expand and you could become full-time with Steve.
I could. And I was interested in that just because I do like working in a team. So like when Jake was sick and I worked at a corporate office, I really liked my corporate family, but it was just so inflexible that it didn't work for me anymore. And so that's a big reason why I started freelancing. I always thought I wanted to be a boss and manage people and help, businesses grow and projects move along. And so if I can find a really good team, as well as help people out who also have a really big dream of having a business, that's where I stand.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't know if you've seen, there's a training in Copy Chief called The 3 Paths to a Successful Freelancing Career. And basically the paths are 1, 2, 3. Number 1 is an all-around freelancer who, like I was talking about in the beginning, is you got like these 5 jobs, right? And one of them is marketing and all these things to keep the leads coming in. And then you got to do the work you love. But on path 3 is entrepreneurial, where you sort of quickly land on a thing as an expert that's really your thing. And you can turn that into a service and specialize in just that. Chris Orzakowski with email, Ross O'Loughlin with USPs, right? All kinds of examples. Abby Woodcock with voice, right?
Yeah.
Path 2, though, is what I call the sort of like, let's call it like an entrepreneur, like leave me alone to do my work. I will kick ass for you, but I don't want to have to deal with all that other stuff. Don't make me show up and talk to people and vet clients and all that. You know what I mean? It sounds to me like you're a powerful path 2, and having a person like Steve, who it sounds like is trusting you, allowing you to do great work, hopefully is like accepting of any mistakes you make along the way, which is important in a relationship, and you guys are growing together. And so first of all, the thing I want to say, because what we talked about yesterday was partly like not a frustration, but an issue for you, is you go so all in with this main client that the lead flow isn't coming because you're not doing the other parts of the business.
Exactly. It's exhausting. And because I do go all in with all of my clients, like another client that I get emotionally involved with clients before I get a contract or a first payment.
Yeah.
And I've discovered that about myself just because I'm so excited to help people. And I'm so excited to get involved in what they're doing because I do like people. It's just like I don't like all people all the time.
Yeah. We're very alike that way. And you were saying something to me yesterday too that really lit me up because I had this too where it's like you are so enthusiastic when you're excited about a client in their product, right, in their market, that you get them excited.
Yeah.
And that's so much. I always thought, man, that's so much of the value I'm bringing is that I'm truly like excited, and you asking them questions and you interview them and they start remembering why they got into this and why they love it. And it just brings this whole new energy to the project. Right.
Right. I feel like they're a person.
Yeah.
Like
That's a
I'm here to
special
amp them
gift.
up.
Yeah. That's a special gift to have to bring that enthusiasm. And you're right. You can't fake it. So you don't even try doing it for the wrong people. It's not going to work.
Right.
But I think for you, so we got on here today we want to talk about sort of like modeling Steve,
Right.
because if you had 3 Steves, you feel like life would be pretty good now, and you could keep up with all that work.
Yeah. So I actually have another writer out of LA that I met that I really love. She's super talented. And so she and I've been offloading some of the smaller things that I don't love to her. And so all of the higher concept copywriting or like the content strategy that I've been doing with Steve, I've been handing off to her after we decide on the concept. And I really love that. And I don't mind getting in front of people and selling because I feel like I can sell when I talk to people like we had talked about yesterday.
Right.
So if I had 3 Steves, I would be able to have I would have a full plate for myself and for Jenna, and then I'd probably ask her one more. And I always said I wanted to have a copywriting posse. We're not like an agency. We're not like a weird team. We're like a posse of people, like gunslingers for hire.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. And I think that would serve you well. It's interesting though, because it's going to be hard to model Steve. First of all, you met him through your hairdresser.
I did.
So again, like, how do you even go, well, how let me reverse engineer how I got in front of Steve and we started working together? It was almost kind of a fluke. But here's what I would say, and this is what I want to help everybody. This is what I think they could take from what you're doing and apply it. Here's one of the ways you can create options for yourself. Because you're doing so much for Steve, it's going to be near impossible to model Steve, right?
Okay.
But what you can do is think about the parts you love about the work you do with Steve and put that in a box. And we talked yesterday about, copywriters need to think in offers and what's Megan's ultimate, what's your perfect package that you would love people to go, that's perfect. I want that. It's so awesome you offer that. Name your price and let's get going. Did you come up with what you would consider the perfect package?
I came up with a few things that I love doing for Steve, and one of them is the high level concept of how we're going to show up, who we're talking to, and what's going to make them buy. He actually asked me an interesting question yesterday. He's like, if you could learn one thing about e-com, what would it be? And I said, I would want to learn consumer psychology. I would love to study it even further so that I can do that high level concept, and then also in a way that makes people have fun and laugh. Because that's also been a big part of my business too, is I'm here to have fun, because injecting that fun and personality into your business, I think, is what really sells people too. And so my perfect package would be if they gave me the reins for their brand and said, this is what we're working with. How can we make it better? And I'd say, this is, and I look at their client and look at what's working for them, what they're offering, what the transformation they're talking about, and then come up with a plan and then have people like Jenna execute it.
Okay.
Just like start pumping out content and then tweaking as we go. Because I'm never afraid to switch or adjust according to what's working. And I always let the people or the audience tell me what is working and what's not. The other thing that I love to do is email marketing. When you really have your audience figured out, and if it works well with my voice, because I'm kind of snarky. If I can work for a snarky brand and design their email marketing campaigns, or even help them get set up with their abandoned carts, their basic welcome series, customer winbacks, and things like that, that would be a great package too.
Great.
For people who really want to be different and attract a certain kind of audience.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And so what I would, it's still, and then I would say, yeah, get maybe a little more granular into the tactical things. But what I like about it is you're starting to define it, and you're okay with somebody not really having something in place. It seems to me like, give me what you got. I will customize the strategy for you based on your goals, right? And that's powerful, because the risk there, though, Megan, is businesses, going back to what Angie said, who just have ideas, they don't really know what they're doing, to have this fantasy about, well, if I just have more personality, the sales would come in. Baby, there's something wonky in the offer. So there might be, you need them to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
You know.
And one thing about Steve is that he's been running his first business quite successfully for about 12 years. He started it in college. He's not that old. He's only 37. Yeah. And he's gotten this far. But he was more established. Like, I've worked with total startups before. I used to blog for another tech startup that didn't make it. Yeah. And that's that's unsecure. That's not super stable. And so maybe even a more established brand that just doesn't quite feel like what they're saying or how they're saying it hits home.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of brands like that because they understand. And so here's what I would be educating on in your authority content. Why personality and entertainment are now essential in marketing, period. Like, inform your argument about that. Look for examples, look for trends. You know, read like Fast Company. It has a lot of good articles on those kind of business trends. Ad Age, I would subscribe to, and you know, see how those brands are using personality and humor and entertaining, not just for the sake of it, but how is that becoming part of their voice, part of their relationship, their dialogue with consumers, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, look for, and then you can start to model Steve in regards to, they're not so big that they're going to go hire an agency to do this for them. They're still an individual. One of your rules should be, I need to talk to the person in charge, not a marketing team. You know
what's funny is, so we do have an agency that we're using, and they cannot inject personality into any of the copy that they write. I'm always fixing it and shortening it. And it's amazing to me that they just either they don't want to try it because it's risky and they want to stay in their lane, or they haven't kept up with what's working and what's changing. And I thought that was really interesting too.
Yeah. So I think you could take a tip from like what Chris Orzakowski's doing with his email breakdowns. He's focused on e-commerce, and he's, you know, proven with every one of those, they're entertaining as hell to read. Chris's personality is, you know, baked into them, and they're educational, and you feel smarter for spending 10 minutes with Chris. You should have your version of that with, again, modeling the kind of brands, whether it's info products, whether it's, you know, whatever it is. You could focus on the social media aspect of it, the email part of it, and say, you know, this is a brand who's really kicking ass at this, or an individual. Here's another one who's missing the mark. What is the difference? Here's a brand who's in a kind of a fun space, but they're totally flat and way too serious with how they're approaching their market. So what would you do to fix that? And that's where you can put your abilities on display, your personality, and say, what if they did this? And that's like, you know, just off the cuff, I'm just telling you, here's a couple of little things they could do. And people are like, damn. And so now you're building this reputation as Megan's the one to go to when you want to inject personality into your brand and customize it.
Right. And that's always what it's been about. And it's also about showing up as a human. I've said that from the very beginning too. If you show up as a human with your brand, because you're not a robot. And Laura is the one who always says that in her emails too. Like, you are a human. Yeah. And I love that. And that's one of the reasons I am in her world too. So
yeah, she's one of the best at it, and why I'm such a fan. And by the way, Laura is going to be our featured guest expert in January. We're going to do an email training together. and specifically about how to write with more personality and things like that. So really excited about that. So, all right, Megan, is this helpful? I know we didn't get to like go
Yeah.
deep and get super granular, but I think you should be writing about this and finding an outlet for your authority. I know you're
Right.
building your website right now, and that's kind of get all the problems of every time everybody builds a
Yeah.
website. But you can have a Facebook page for your business that you start posting stuff.
Mhm.
There's other channels that are kind of quicker to start, and you can always repurpose that stuff as blog content later, right?
Right.
So
Right.
don't
And I
don't
do,
let tech hold you up.
no, and I do have a Facebook page that I'm active on, and I get on there sometimes and I add some wit here and there. I'm just not super consistent, but I'm going to take more seriously what you said yesterday about making my business a client of mine, because otherwise I
Becoming your
just
own
get
best client.
so. And
Yeah.
actually, one of the wins or takeaways that I wanted to mention was I fired a client last week. And it was a client that I really liked, but they didn't pay me enough for the work that I was doing, and it was sucking the life out of me.
Yeah.
But the scary thing is that after I fired them, something else fell through. So I was like, fuck.
What have I done? Hey,
No, but
just
it'll
kidding
be
about that.
okay.
I took an Ambien. That wasn't me at all.
Oh.
Okay.
No, it'll be okay. It'll all work out. I just thought I created
Yeah.
space, and then some more space opened up. So we'll see what big
That's all
thing is
right.
coming
Yeah,
down the
that means something even bigger is coming. And
Yeah, I think so.
now you have some focus, and even when we start to get dialed in with our thoughts, it's that whole. There's actually a word for this. I forget what it is, but when you want a car and then you start seeing that car everywhere, it's that kind of thing. You're starting to focus your energy into the universe, and that will bring those things back to you. It's not.
Yeah.
It takes action, obviously, as well, but man, so powerful to begin to dial in what you want, and see how it starts showing up to you.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. I really
cool.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really fun talking about it, and keep me, keep me in the loop on
I will.
what you start posting and where it is, and I want to see it come to life.
Yeah, for sure. I will.
All right, Megan, it's great talking to you. Thank you,
Thanks.
everybody, for being here. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on the next one.